In this case, it's pretty easy to see that something really went wrong.
Well, some disturbing new information tonight in a crime that shocked our region. It involves the horrific murders of well-known North Shore pastor Otis Young and parishioner Ruth Pratt. They were beaten and they were stabbed.
And on top of that, their bodies were burned just days after Thanksgiving. For the first time, we're hearing from the family of Father Young. WDSU investigative reporter Aubrey Killian has uncovered new information in the case that has a lot of people concerned. Aubrey.
Hey, Gina, that's right. So the accused killer was let out of prison in August. That's after serving time for a horrific rape. New records show that he later violated his parole, and the state knew about it. He was not rearrested. Police say 8 days later, he went to Ruth Pratt's home with a knife behind his back and is accused of murdering Ruth Pratt and Father Young.
The legacy that you will leave as pastor here at St. Peter's is gigantic, Father Otis.
Ruth Pratt and Father Otis Young.
I just want to say thank you while I've been here for all your support and your help. Thank you.
They were loved by so many, and two of the most well-known faces at St. Peter Catholic Church in Covington. Norman Elfer is Father Otis Young's brother-in-law. He's still sorting through Young's rosaries, awards, and letters that he holds dear to his heart.
I'd like to see the system do its job.
His focus is moving forward and honoring the man who changed so many lives.
Making sure that, his memory is respected, his final wishes are respected. He could have done a lot more, and there'd be more people grateful for his help, but it's gone.
Part of moving forward, he says, involves changes to the system. Is there anything you think could have been done to prevent this from happening?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
After the killing of Father Otis Young and Ruth Pratt, WDSU Investigates began digging into the accused killer's past. We found a police report from the 1990s that says Antonio Tyson and another man broke into a 54-year-old Covington woman's home and raped her multiple times. Tyson was convicted for that crime and in 1993 was sentenced to 40 years for the forcible rape and other charges. Under state regulations back then, he was eligible to be released in 2012 after doing 19 years, but he had to serve an additional 10.5 years for hundreds of conduct violations in prison. He was let out of prison on August 26th of last year on supervised release, with the Department of Corrections telling WDSU Investigates since his release and up to his arrest, he had complied with the conditions of his good time parole, but in checking to see if Tyson had followed the rules, WDSU Investigates found that he failed a drug test on November 19th of 2022, violating his parole. That's close to just 3 months after he was released. And police say 8 days later, Antonio Tyson murdered Father Otis Young and Ruth Pratt. Tyson's failed drug test is new information to Norman Elfer, the brother-in-law of the murdered priest. Were you aware of that happened?
That there was a THC was found? No, I was not aware of that.
And the Covington Police Department says they were not made aware of any violations of Tyson's parole prior to his arrest.
Smoking marijuana or ingesting marijuana in any of its forms while you're on parole is a violation of the conditions of your parole.
Jerry Smith is a former prosecutor for St. Tammany Parish and has prosecuted multiple murder cases.
Because he was on for a crime of violence, they could have gone all the way to we're revoking your parole completely and you're going back to prison.
Smith says, while Tyson could have been arrested, the chances of an arrest were likely slim because it was his first offense following his release. If he was picked up, how much time in jail could he have spent?
Well, waiting for the parole board to take action could have been days or weeks. It may have been a couple of weeks before it got to the parole board.
The Department of Corrections says they did verbally reprimand Tyson for the failed drug test and told him he was now going to be required to submit to more intensive drug testing. The DOC also says the failed drug test is a low-level violation, and they say this is not an offense for which an individual would be charged or jailed. While Elfer wants you to remember Father Otis Young and Ruth Pratz as people who live to serve others and make this world a better place, he says he hopes this story brings change.
The whole community is looking at them. And so I think they are best equipped to say what really could have been done to avoid this in the future. Well, certainly, I think that it'd be great that Ruth Pratz and Otis Young had not been murdered. And I think that there are things that in the system that could have been done differently.
Elfer also making it clear the punishment he hopes to see.
It's been a long time since they've had an execution. I'm happy to build a chamber that would be very humane. I'd like to see the state begin to use its death row as it was intended.
So the State Department of Corrections would not agree to an on-camera interview. The St. Tammany District Attorney would not comment. Antonio Tyson's attorney told me, quote, "I feel it would be inappropriate for me to answer your questions at this time." Tyson is at Angola after investigators say he tried to escape from the St. Tammany jail. Reporting in the studio, I'm Aubrey Killian, WDSU News.